All right, so you can help yourself out quite a bit here. Okay, 4 movements of materials across a cell membrane: osmosis, diffusion. Okay, now you people said them in a kind of specific order. Why would you state it that way? Because you're right. Because what do those have in common? It doesn't take any energy to do that, okay? So, but something does have to exist, though. What's this? It's a concentration gradient, okay? So, how? What's the different things that they are moving? Water, osmosis, blood gases for diffusion, proteins, carbohydrates, or sugars, or enzymes are way too big to enter the cell alone. So they have to have a little bit of help. So then if we're doing active transport, then it's going the opposite direction. Okay, that's different. Why? Because it requires energy. Okay, now one of the things that again, last chapter we're talking about cells. I get it. It's totally boring. But when you start applying that to, some of you do have aspirations of pharmaceuticals, maybe, to nursing school, to medical school, to something along those lines. Those same applications, they will come full circle, and it'll be a lot more interesting, but it's going to be more difficult, but that's okay. Yes? Active transport pumps either potassium ions in and sodium ions out against a concentration gradient. I had to think about that. Okay? Because for the same reason, why did we talk about sodium and potassium? It's not so, let's say, so evident today, and tomorrow night when there's maybe a high of 55, 60. So you might not have to worry about what, you football players? No. Yeah, muscle cramps. Okay? So taking in the proper electrolytes. Now, why is that different when it's more warm or hotter, or however you want to say that? Why do you have to take in more electrolytes? Because you're losing that in what? In your sweat. Okay? Do you ever think, a dog always likes licking me? Is it because you taste good? You think? Are you sweet? Well, some of you are probably looking at some of your neighbors going, no, maybe yes, maybe no. But why do you suppose that is? They're licking your face, yeah, because there's salt on you. Okay? They enjoy the taste of that salt. That's would make sense. So it's not just limited to you football players. Think of, what do you think, your first 2 weeks in that gym for volleyball practice? What was that like? Yeah, so you're losing more fluids and more electrolytes faster than what you would think. So you need to take in some of those electrolytes. I myself, in marching band, I was a trombonist, and you put them uniforms on, those are hot. Okay? Maybe hot in a different way than what you're thinking. Now, what are we laughing for? Are your uniforms hot? Okay. But yeah, because the material is actually pretty thick, yeah, and if it's hot outside, it's not fun walking around in those things, is it? No, I would agree. Okay. But the downside is, do we have any brass instrument players in here? Because the reason I say that is we certainly know what's brass, of course, is a alloy metal. So what's true about metals when it comes to heat and electricity? They conduct it very easily. So if it's on the opposite direction, absence of heat, almost sometimes wonder if you place that up to your mouth, it was going to freeze to your mouth that time. It's not that bad, but there has been times when it is cold outside and it's not fun doing that. Okay, that's just the price of being a band student. Yeah, I actually miss it, marching band. I didn't think I would, but it was actually pretty fun. And that was a long, long time ago, but regardless. So those are your 4 movements across the cell membrane, okay? Because you're probably going to be having to recall that information tomorrow. So if we were talking about what is probably some of the most important concepts that we've been talking about in chapter 6 when it comes to photosynthesis. What about water? What about it? Water, what about it? It breaks apart. Water is split, okay? So when that happens, you have lots of extra oxygen molecules. So what do? Leave the plant, because we always said we take in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide. It's just the opposite for plants. They'll take in the carbon dioxide and give off the oxygen, okay? What is it? The hydrogen does something specific to an electron. It plays, we said, hot potato. What is that called when it's being moved down electron transport chain? Okay, so those are some important aspects that we want you to remember. Is this where we left off, or we need to go back? Okay. Okay. One, two farming families in here. 3. Okay. Combine's going to be sitting in the shed for a week, 2, probably 2. You know, this could very well be one of those years. I want to say it was 1996, maybe 1997. I never thought I would see someone combining in July. That'd be really bad. Combining in January. You may have never seen that before, but if you ask your parents, they would probably say, yeah, sometimes that happens. As long as that corn will stay on the stalk, stay on the stalk, you know, it'll probably be all right to harvest even as late as January. We hope it doesn't come to that, but certainly maybe goes through a person's mind when you look out the window and see this is probably adding on to this much rain in inches, would you think? I would say it's at least 4, maybe getting closer to 5.
Excuse me, if I could have your attention, please. This announcement is about loading the buses after school. This is for all students that ride the bus. We are going to have all students that ride the bus line up in the cafeteria by bus 1, 2, and 3, and we will load one bus out the front door at a time. It is pouring rain, so all bus students report to the cafeteria after school, and we will line you up, load you on the bus.
What specifically is this pigment called? It's green, chlorophyll. Now, what is it? Okay, we'll pick on Pac-Man here. That sounds like more. Is that a musical artist or an athlete? I thought I've heard of something other than the game. Someone called Pac-Man. Does that sound right? No, I don't know either. Okay, so Pac-Man here. How do we interpret the color blue? What's what's that shirt doing? It's absorbing every color of the spectrum except blue. Okay, and cool people wear blue, right? It's a cold color. I think. Is it a cold? Okay. And there's warm colors too, right? Okay. See, I don't know a lot about art. Maybe a little bit. That's probably the extent of it right there. But yes, chlorophyll is the pigment that we're talking about. And for anyone who knows, I think we used to try to mix in a cross-country practice late in the day in that week before school. And of course, in August, it still can get up into the 90s, and it's done that before. But if you've ever been out on a country road and running or doing any type of exercise, even during the summer, if you are between two cornfields, that is awful. I mean, you just said it's hot. You can feel that heat radiating out of the field itself. Any detasseling, I know DeKalb up in, is it Brookings, that may do some research, or they're always looking for students to do detasseling corn. Have you ever done it before? So why might that be? The pay is probably good, but why is it awful? What did we just say? It's awfully hot when you do that. And you may have a gentle breeze that's blowing and you're standing out of the field, it's fine. But once you get in there, you're looking at some of the corn stalks are probably 7.5, maybe 8 feet tall. So it's pretty hot in there. Some of my research for my degree at Dakota State had involved some of that, going out in that cornfield and awfully hot. Okay, so moving on then. Okay, so here's our pigments that we're talking about, and the thylakoids again are just where that pigment's found. It's like a bunch of poker chips or a bunch of quarters stacked on top of one another. Let's see where we're at here. Okay. Okay, I just want to get through this segment on chloroplast pigments. That's on the next slide. Then we'll wrap it up for today and then hand out what we were going to yesterday. That will be due on Tuesday. Okay? As you all know, I'm not much of a fan of collecting things on Mondays. I didn't like it as a student, and I still don't like it. So that's just my personal preference. So we'll get that handed out today, and then again, that will be due on Tuesday. Besides, it's a big week next week, correct? Everyone got their memes figured out? Well, that's what it is. It says Mimi. Oh, meme. I thought that was Mimi. Isn't it spelled M-E-M-E? Well, that's Mimi. Oh? Oh. Okay. Meme, not Mimi. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so then to wrap up these chloroplast pigments, okay? So one of the things I hope that maybe you can appreciate now, whether we know that animals evolve into different categories. Who's to say that plants would be something different? You can look at it that way, or maybe the guy upstairs something different as well. Um, Either way, it's kind of neat how these deal with trying to absorb energy, because again, when you are possibly feeling hungry, you just get up and move around or get a drink of water. That's not possible for these organisms to do so. So the intelligent design behind that is just that these plants are green in color then. So even when you look at this, these pigments, they are starting to change. We talked about this as possibly sometimes some of your favorite time of year. Some say sweatshirt weather, or leaving the windows open at night weather, or deciduous tree weather, because again, before the leaves start to fall, they start to change in color. Okay. We'll be able to, I want to say, move quite quickly through what the light reactions are. The video did a really decent job of that, but we read through what's actually happening. In short, you know, we got the sunlight coming down, the pigments absorb that, water molecule splits, the hydrogen pushes that electron along an electron transport chain. As long as you soaked up that bit of information, you're going to go a long way on what these light reactions are. Okay. Can we shut this off? Okay. Okay, so don't forget vocab quiz tomorrow. Band students, if you get back, fine. If not, the sun's going to come up on Saturday morning. Well, we know the sun's coming up tomorrow morning. We just don't know if it's going to shine or not. We certainly hope so. So that's where we're at. Next week, probably, I would say Wednesday, chapter 6. Get that information done, and we'll hopefully get all this wrapped up, and we'll be able to move on from this. We won't be here on Wednesday, that's right. We don't have class on Wednesday, because you people will be at the golf course cheering on. What was that? Oh, I was going to say, I hope that wasn't a raindrop. Oh, darn flies. Okay, yeah. Next Wednesday, we host our cross-country meet here. So with a shortened week, we will have to possibly adjust fire at that time. All right, that's it.